Fouler things than men plague these waters. Hordes of undead, ships of bone and flesh, nameless terrors lurking in the deep. But not the devil himself can save a man from his own greed. Gar! This be Pirate Borg.
and DG lead the way. New RPG systems every day. Dice roll, quick adventure calls. Walking through tabletop's golden halls. Masters of pen and paper. RPGs of every flavor. Talking about different creators. The choice of games is never greater. Come with us to games they run through. New, old, and interesting. Thank you all for listening.
Welcome into the show. Masters of Pen and Paper at you. We got me, Finney, here with my man
DG, how's it going? Episode 12. Dude, I am so excited to jump into another board game. So we had the OG. Now it's time for the flavor. Pirate version of Borg.
Yes, Pirate Borg.
Pirate Borg.
The standalone game that is based off of Borg.
That's right. Yeah, this isn't like an add-in, right? Like it's not just like an appendix. This is a full-fledged stand on its own Borg game.
This, you buy the book, you play the game, and it's got everything you need. You don't even need to know how to play Borg.
That's right.
It's so complete.
Exactly. It's fantastic. And there's a lot to unpack in here. So I'm ready to find out everything that you learned about Luke Stratton.
Okay. So created by Luke Stratton of Limithorn LLC.
Limithorn or Limithorn? Limithorn. Because you looked this up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you
I
scour. Finney scours the internet for stuff.
Multiple minutes of videos I went through to find how to pronounce that correctly.
Limithorn LLC.
Yeah.
Using the Borg banner.
Yes, but it's under the third-party license of Borg, which states that you have to say this is built from Borg, but not affiliated in any way with Borg.
Right.
Or whatever the company that makes Borg was.
Borg's
I can't remember.
OGL. This is their game license. They're friending it out to people.
But it is 100% open.
It is open. Yeah, that's right. They want you to use it. That's right. They want you to use it, but they just simply need that little credit on the book saying this was created using the Borg OGL.
So Luke Stratton, he's a tricky fellow to track down because this is his first game.
Right.
This is the only game.
Okay.
And other than that, he doesn't do much with games.
And this is impressive to me because this game is really well done considering how it plays out
together. Yes.
The fact that he kind of is like, hey, what's up? I'm Luke. I know you don't know who I am. Here's a game. Okay, bye.
Yeah, basically. So Luke went to Berklee College of Music and he became a lighting director for a little band named Dopapod.
Okay.
And once COVID hit,
he stopped banding.
They stopped banding because everybody stopped.
Because it's COVID.
Everything stopped.
Makes sense.
We lost a couple of years there.
That's right. We had the time warp.
Yeah. And he ended up, quote unquote, drawing pirate ships for Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I don't know what that exactly means, but he embodies pirateness. He loves pirates. He loves pirates. He loves pirate ships. He loves everything to do with pirates. So much so that like he will play in a band dressed up as a pirate in just as a regular concert. It's crazy.
This dude wants to be a pirate. Like in another life, he was sailing the seven seas.
Exactly.
Long John Silver level.
Yeah. So in September of 2023, the release of Pirate Borg happened.
That's right.
And it originally came from a Kickstarter in 2022, which was very successful.
That's right. Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah, they got their funding.
Yeah. And then in 2025 now, January of
Right
2025, there was a Kickstarter that is for the expansion, the first expansion, the Down Among the Dead.
That's right.
Expansion.
And I mean, at the time of recording, January 2025, this is still open, right? Like, this is still, you're still able to pledge into it, right? I think it's at the tail end of things, but it is like,
so, yeah.
It's fresh, like hot off the presses. So
most Kickstarters run for just about a month or more. So
yeah, a month or
I would
two.
suspect. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll definitely be coming to an end. But I mean, the fact that you have a game spawned off of a previous game, so you've got Pirate Borg created from Merc Borg, and now you've got the expansion for Pirate Borg, right? So you've got this kind of whole world that's opening up outside of it, and it's just really cool. And Luke's done a lot to make this a fun game, and with it being a board game, it's snappy. We're in, we're playing. There's like no muss, no fuss. We're getting in, we're getting our hands dirty right off the hop.
As well as fully compatible with Merc Borg.
That's right. You bet. You want to merge those worlds together? You 100% could do that if you wanted to.
For sure you can. You won't have to because there is so much content in this book. This is ridiculously thick book.
Yeah,
and thick for a board game.
Yeah, for a board game, because this is about twice the size of the Merc Borg book. I mean, a little bit more than
roughly,
that.
Yeah.
But I mean, cover to cover, we're looking at about 170 pages, right? So, in the grand scheme of things, considering that just the player's handbook for D&D 5e is like 400 pages, we're still in a rules light game here. Grab this book and off you go.
Yes, we are rules light and easy to pick up, easy to play.
And for what it's worth, even in that 170 pages, the Pirate Borg is still a board game. The book is filled with artistic flair. Right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They don't make the best use of their margins, so to speak.
We are not talking like
newspaper style
columns of text here.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful work of art.
That's right. Yes.
Like one of those, you throw it and Merc Borg out on the coffee table for everyone to enjoy, just goggling at the amazing artwork.
They're beautiful books. They're absolutely beautiful books. And I got it. We're right back again where we were with Merc Borg, where this is one of those books where, like you said, you put it out on the coffee table and people flip through it. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's actually a game. We should play it sometime. And boom, you're in, just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I handed my copy of Merc Borg to a friend of mine when he was over, and he flipped through it in about 40 minutes. He had it cover to cover. It's very simple.
And you're off and running.
And you're off and going.
Speaking of off and running, I think we should get into the guts of this.
Into the guts, into the nuts and bolts, the shivers of me timbers.
The shivers of me timbers. That's right, yes.
If you've never heard of Merc Borg, pause the podcast, go back to episode 3.
Yep.
And that is our Merc Borg episode. And DG and I really enjoy our Borg games.
The Borg games are great. Yes.
They're cool.
Yeah.
So give that a listen. Come back. Welcome back. Hi. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for coming back. We're gonna skip over the obvious stuff. Like Merc Borg sets the stage, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna give you the pieces that are kind of, I mean, some of it's gonna be mixed, but for the vast majority, we're not gonna go through the things that are common here. We're gonna talk the things that are specific to Pirate Borg themselves.
Yes, because some things are changed in Pirate Borg versus Merc Borg, and some things very much stay the same. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
First off, we're back at a D20 system. Roll up to or over a DC, and your DC is set at 12 throughout this. Everything is a DC 12. Harder things are a DC 14.
That's right.
Easier things are a DC 10. Yeah. You know, you can shift that DC, but for the 90% of the things, you're rolling up 12. To a 12.
I gotta say, it feels good to be back here too, right? Like for all we've done a couple roll under systems, and they just don't have the same punch that the meet or beat systems do, right?
Yeah, they got a different feel to them.
It's programmed in my brain to think that 20 is good and 1 is bad, right? So when we flip that on its head, it's not that it makes it bad. It's just it's hard for me to get over being excited to see a 1 on the dice. That's all.
That's because you're young and
that's right.
RPG.
Yes. Yeah. Back in my day, the grognards are going to come for me for real.
Yeah. back in the day, they were all roll under. With our D20 system, we roll our D20, we add any modifiers that are applicable, and if it exceeds the DC or meet it, it passes.
That's right.
That is a rollover system.
Yeah.
Now, the setting in Pirate Borg is the Dark Caribbean, quote unquote. And it takes place on this number of islands, kind of like a Caribbean setting of multiple smaller islands that you can travel around to. And there's different factions in each kind of area, and you got to suss out things like that. Very, very cool the way they did this. The
Absolutely.
map looks awesome.
Yeah,
I love the map.
The map is really, really awesome. I also dig the fact that we're in the Caribbean, but we're not in the Caribbean. We're in this version of it, right?
Yes,
So, which allows you the ability, because I'm like, if they would have gone for like real life thing, it takes away a lot of the flexibility of like creating islands and all of this kind of stuff, right? So changing the setting just slightly so that you still have that pirate flavor of like the real life kind of thing. And you've got this mix of like the world that's been created. So you have artistic flair. You've got the ability to kind of shift things around here, right?
Yeah.
On these islands, so what's that basically ended up happening is there's magical disease called the scourge that's going through and wiping out towns, villages, and islands, and turning the people into monsters and undead, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll get into it, but the whole purpose, the whole reason why you're even braving these waters is for a product called ash. And ash is kind of outlined in the book on page 10 in the book, where it essentially talks about the remnants of destroyed undead. So you grind up these undead, turn them into what this ash is, and then there is a market. MERK Borg and Pirate Borg love tables. There's a table for the current ash market that will tell you whether or not there is some pricing changes. And then there's a table for the effects of consuming it, because ash is what's going to give you some of these superpowers or potentially take you out, right? Like you could overdose and pass out for a few rounds and out you go. And that's the end of it.
Isn't there one where you just die outright?
I think so. I was kind of just flipping through. Like there's a permanent -1 to all abilities, for example, right? Like there's pros and cons to each side. And it's crazy. The tables are fantastic.
It's nuts.
The intention here is the ash is valuable and it's addicting and it's in high demand. So we're in it to get some cash money. That's what we're
after. As pirates are. Yes.
That's right. You bet. And we're after other pirate crews who might have this to liberate it from them, perhaps.
Yeah. So the theme around Pirate Borg is unsurprisingly pirates, and it is loosely inspired by the Pirates of the Caribbean.
The movie.
You heard that right. It is. Yes.
Johnny
very
Depp.
much so. The Johnny Depp movie.
Okay.
Not so much that. It was actually based on... So Luke loves the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland.
Okay.
And that's what the movie was based off of, because the ride came first.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
Like 30, 40 years ago, this ride shows up at Disneyland. And then all of a sudden, 15 years ago, they make a movie about it.
Sure.
And he went on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and he said, you know what? That is awesome. This is what I am going to base my life around from here on out. And he became a modern day... I don't want to call him a pirate because he's not a pirate, but he likes to pretend he is.
Sure. He's a pirate in the sense that pirates exist within the movie The Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
And you were saying he actually put that in the book, the thank you for this.
Yes.
It's literally in the book in the thank you area.
It is.
Thank you to my parents for taking me on this ride or something like that, right? Like.
Yeah. He says, thank you to his parents for taking me on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride over 30 years ago. And it's phenomenal how much that just inspired him to make something, and to basically influence his life so much that he decided 30 years from there to make a board, like a tabletop game over it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's on page 4 if you're in the books and you want to actually see it. Page 4 in the kind of bottom left-hand area of that page, it is listed in there. Very cool. So you can see the inspiration. He's very, very pirate focused. Of course,
yes.
With a name like Pirate Borg, you got to be pirate focused.
You got to be bad. Yeah. Next up, we got our factions.
Right.
So
the
we got
crews.
the Brethren of the Coast. Now, these are the pirates. When you create your character, you will be a part of the Brethren of the Coast.
Very likely, yeah.
Asterisks. Because you don't have to be part of any of these factions.
No, you do your thing.
Yeah, you can do your thing.
As is with all Borg games, your fun is valid.
Pirates, yes.
Whatever you want to do with it is whatever you want to do with it.
And then we have the British, the French, the Spanish, and the wretched, which are the undead and the monsters.
And that one was really cool to me because that is essentially the category for the bad guys in the game. But
yeah,
it's included in the list of the different factions. So if you wanted to work in that you're an undead, you're a skeleton in the crew, it's in there. You could do this.
Yes, for sure.
Whatever you want to do. Want to have fun?
There's
you want to be a skeleton pirate? Be a skeleton pirate.
There's a subclass that lets you be a skeleton. It's
right there.
It's right there, and it's ready to go.
So we've got a pretty hefty list of events, right? And so the kind of how things go within the game, it's all listed out on page 25 of the book, and it's kind of like a high level history that outlines what's going on, but it's very loosey goosey, I think is the way that I would put it, right? Like essentially the GM would put it together. It is, again, it's a 6x6 table. So you roll on this table if you want to. You can use it as you want. You can pick and choose whatever makes sense for your story. But if you really just want to leave it up to chance, you grab yourself some D6s, as you do with most of these tables, and you just let fate decide what happens. And
I am a sucker for letting fate decide. Because
so am I. I love it.
That's and this is basically the Psalms in Borg.
That's right. Yes.
This is what ends the game. Because we are in a dying world again. As soon as the sixth thing comes to pass, or the seventh thing, all of a sudden, that's it. Game's over. You're done.
It's Armageddon.
This world is done. Yeah, it's ended. Yeah, and it's so cool because you just roll, and it's
here's
different
your story.
Events that happen, and it gives you an overarching story just right there.
Yep. Chapters 1 through 6, and then there's 1 through 6 for the different events that take place as well.
Yeah.
In true Borg fashion, it very clearly states that the game ends in Armageddon, and when that happens, you are to cast the book into the sea.
That's
because
right.
You're done. The game over. Out it goes.
All BORGRPG books, I believe, tell you to destroy the book
in
one way or the other. Yeah, because they're books only good for one playthrough.
That's right. It's really cool to see that flavoring in here. And a nice little nod to Borg itself, right? But it was cool to see that.
It for sure harkens back to that. Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
So let's get on to character creation.
Let's make some characters.
Yeah. So we have the regular cast of characters for our abilities. We have strength, agility, presence, which is for ranged weapons, not dexterity or anything else.
That's correct.
We got toughness, and we have a new one, which is called spirit. Now, spirit is used only for casting spells and using new items, which are called relics.
That's right. And presence isn't one you're going to want to sleep on either. That one's all of your guns.
Yeah, it's more of a perception kind of thing instead of presence. But I feel like they couldn't call it that. So
I kind of got the same vibe. They had to call it something else just for legal reasons or whatever it is. But don't sleep on presents. You're going to want to keep some of that in there. If your character uses a rifle or some type of gun, some type of black powder weapon, you're probably going to want some power, some oomph behind that skill.
Just a little bit of oomph, yeah. Because it's basically your sight and how well you can perceive things.
Yeah.
So we roll our D6 to figure out what kind of container we have. And our containers range anywhere from a bucket to a dinghy. Not a rubber dinghy, an actual dinghy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that this is like, when they refer to a container, like they're talking about a backpack kind of thing, right? Like you're on the dock standing there with all your stuff in this container. So the bucket to the dinghy, it's just hilarious because like the middle ones are like basically backpacks.
A backpack, like, a satchel, stuff
it's
like
really
that.
Funny.
A bandolier.
Yeah. Too good.
Next up, we roll the D12 for our cheap gear, and that's ordinary stuff like a lantern, a rope. For some reason, they have a pet in there as listed as an ordinary thing, but I guess pirates have parrots and they're common.
Yeah, monkeys,
monkeys,
crocodiles.
Yeah, all sorts of things.
All sorts of things.
After that, we do another D12 for our fancy gear, which is like compasses and instruments and things that they cost a little more than, your standard roll of rope.
You need to have at least one nice thing.
You gotta have one nice thing. Yes. We roll 3d6 for our modifier to our abilities. Yep. And so we roll our 3d6, add them together, consult a chart that says, hey, you rolled a 13. Here's your modifier. We take that modifier, we put it into our character sheet. We take the rolled number and we chuck it in the garbage because we don't play with those.
We don't need big numbers. We're simply working on modifiers.
Yes,
and I like
we are modifiers.
Just like it was in Borg, we have a small spread. We are -3 to +3.
That's right.
And that's where we land. We are landing somewhere within that scale.
Yep.
With ability to go up or down based on level, but we'll get there too.
After that, we get to choose a class, or you could roll if you prefer. Yeah. There is one classless adventurer that is the landlubber, and they get to actually roll 4d6 and drop the lowest die, and you get whatever modifiers you get. There's no upping, downings, anythings. So next up, we have our classes. Classes are brute. Your brute is the barbarian of Pirate Borg here. You can't use arcane rituals or magic.
No, he's not a magic caster.
But I mean, your muscles are basically magic anyway. So
yeah, and this guy's probably not firing guns either because his bonuses exist in the form of punching and slashing, less shoosting.
He is very physical.
Very physical. This is your physical fighter.
Yeah.
I do like that he has a starting feature called Brass Anchor, where you use two hands and you literally bean somebody with a freaking brass anchor.
Yeah. Yeah. The flavor of attacks on all of these are really cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here. The rotten cargo net also is really funny too. So it's got gross points, but
yeah. After the brute, we have the rapscallion.
Yep.
And this is kind of your rogue, your sneaky, backstabby, that kind of guy. He sneaks around in the shadows, and he's not much for being up in front and getting hit.
No, this is the one where you play cards with this guy and you somehow end up with no money in your pocket and you don't know how.
That's right. Yeah. After the rapscallion, we have buccaneer.
That's right.
Buccaneers are your sharpshooter ranger.
That's right.
And they're very good at tracking and survival. One key thing is that they are the only class that reloads black powder weapons in 1 round instead of 2 rounds. So you are twice as fast reloading any weapon as any other class.
Yeah, where the buccaneer is meant for the shooting and the ranged attacks, is the polar opposite to the
to the brute, right? Like that's your balance out here. You've got a brute who's the very physical. You've got the buccaneer who's the very ranged kind of thing.
Yeah,
and 100%. The
100%.
rapscallion kind of falls in between the two of them a little bit.
Yeah, as the rogue usually does. Yeah.
Exactly.
Next up, we have the swashbuckler.
Yep.
A brash fighter with bravado and swagger. I kind of label this as a bard. They're quite showy when they fight.
This is your Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yes.
If you want to play Captain Jack Sparrow,
there you go.
This is your Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, very much so.
But you have heard of me.
After that, we have a zealot, which is our cleric.
Yes.
Now, we need to have a little bit of magic in here because magic exists on the enemy side, so the characters have to have a little bit.
That's right, yeah.
It feels a little forced, but yeah.
It's one of those things, yeah. The cleric does not only has the ability to heal, but also has the ability to curse. So you're kind of like, if with a 5e cleric, you're both a death domain and a life domain cleric. You're kind of a combination of the two of them.
You are, cool. Yes. Next up, we have the sorcerer. Now, the sorcerer gets mostly necromancer spells. They are a spellcaster.
Yeah.
But a full-on spellcaster as opposed to anything else that we've seen so far.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I said this kind of in the Merkborg episode. The magic doesn't really fit for me. Like, I get it has to exist. I understand that. But it doesn't fit the vibe with the rest of the game. I would rather see the magic removed on both sides, the monsters and the player's side, but I get that this is required to be here to balance things out, right? And I do like that they went more the route of like a voodoo thing rather than a just straight up magic guy, right?
Yeah.
So it's still kind of on brand, but you know that they put this in because they had to have some kind of magic counterbalance to the monsters, basically, right?
Yeah. This guy's got more of a Creole head doctor.
That's right.
Thing.
Yeah. You got the kind of voodoo thing, which is, it would be a lot of fun to play. It would be.
It works in the setting. Like you said, the game wise, but we're not here to pick that part.
Yeah.
Next up, we have two optional classes. Now we have the Haunted Soul, which is the skeletons, zombies, etc. The undead. And then we have Tall Tale. And these are mutants and sentient animals, actually.
Yeah.
So you could be like a talking crocodile.
That's right.
Or a mermaid or anything in between.
Yeah, you have a lot of flexibility here, which is really nice. You can also use these to kind of flavor your own character. So let's say you wanted to be a brute, but you wanted to be a skeleton brute. Okay, you can do that, right? You can combine these things together. The game is designed to do that with you. Obviously it's very, very GM dependent. You're gonna have to work with whoever's running your game, but it's pretty slick. I like how they do that. And they did something similar in Merkborg as well. But
not quite
like
extent.
this. This is a little bit expanded.
Yeah. So next up, after we pick our class, we roll the HPs, and the HP is dependent on class. Now, each class will tell you how much, if it's like toughness plus D10, plusness plus D12, just your toughness, stuff like that. The landlubber gets the toughness plus D10.
Yeah, you got to get a bit of an increase for not choosing a class.
Yeah, actually, sorry, I misspoke. I believe the classes are only a D10, 12, etc.
Right.
They don't add your toughness. After that, we roll for our weapons, our clothing, and a hat, because every pirate needs a nice hat.
Are you even a pirate if you don't have an awesome pirate hat?
If you are not a pirate if you do not have a hat.
You need that kind of epic pirate hat. I believe that is very important.
Go kill a real pirate, get his hat. Yeah.
And I don't mean it has to be like a tri-corner hat. Like one of the options is a
bandana.
Yeah. There's a bandana. Anything. Right? There's a lot. The bicorn is hilarious. I think I would want to be a pirate with a bicorn, and I would want to be like modeled after Captain Crunch.
Yeah.
Right? Like 100%.
You will refer to me as commandant. or
That's
something.
right. Exactly. Yes, exactly. 100%. That is what I would like to see.
After that, we roll for our starting Devil's Luck. Now, Devil's Luck is the omens of Pirate Borg, and this lets you re-roll D20 rolls.
Yeah.
It lets you reduce DRs, if some other stuff that off the top of my head I can't remember exactly how.
This is your inspiration. That's
It's
how you
inspiration.
use it,
Yeah.
essentially. There's other stuff, like, I mean, you have the ability to neutralize crits and fumbles and stuff like that too. But I mean, it is all intents and purposes, this is the game's version of inspiration.
Yeah. After that, we pick or roll a background. Now, this background chart is a D100 table.
It's such an awesome list.
It is huge, and it is anything from a sailor to a writer or a priest to a thief, and there's absolutely everything in between.
And it tells you what your character is going to begin with too, right? Like the sailor starts
equipment.
2d6 times 10 silver and a reason to go to sea. And there you go. And that's kind of what they deal with, right? I loved this table. This is a really, really good table. This is in fact such a great table that if I ever did some kind of pirate themed D&D thing, I think this is one of the ones I would rip out and add to my custom Frankenstein game.
For sure. That's exactly what I would be doing. I would tear that thing out and
100%. I'm genuinely shocked they came up with 100 different pirate themed backgrounds.
Well, yes and no.
Some of them are a little kind of, question marky. But even then, I mean, there's a lot here.
I will say that the sailor background is a roll of anything from 1 to 20 or 1 to 25 or something.
That's right. It's 1 to 20. Yes, it is the first 20 because it makes the most
20.
sense.
Yes.
But
there
I mean,
should be more.
Like, if you roll 100, you're a writer at 100.
Yeah.
Right? The shaman, the shipwright, the refugee, the pilot, the musician, the missionary. There's a lot here. It's really cool. Awesome
it's
stuff.
really cool. I like it. We are back. We have morale checks for our enemies.
We're back.
So there's a 2d6 roll to determine morale if the leader of the encounter is killed, or if half the group is eliminated, or if a single enemy is down to 1/3 HP or less. If you roll a number higher than the morale value, it's demoralized, and you roll another d6 to determine if it flees or surrenders, because these things are not your mindless zombies.
That's right. They have self-preservation.
Yeah.
They don't want to die.
I don't want to call them all people because they're not. They used to be. But
Yeah. It's epic. I love, and I mean, and for the most part, like combat and all of that stuff, it's the same as Mörk Borg. There's really nothing different in any of that. Resting, it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's all the same there. But I did like the re-inclusion of morale. And I think Mörk Borg had morale too, did it not?
Mörk Borg does have morale.
So, I mean, with the morale system in place, I just, the reason why we want to point it out is because so many games are eliminating morale. So they turn into slogfest, where you're in a battle and it doesn't end until one side drops. And I like the fact that morale exists because it gives you an out. Right? If you want that combat to end, you've got the ability to make a morale check. And in this case, it's basically they flee or they surrender, right?
Yeah.
And then you decide what you want to do. So it's immediate stop to the combat.
It makes the game feel more fluid.
That's right.
Than scripted, because I mean, you walk up to an enemy in 5e and you beat it to death.
Yep.
It had no chance of turning and running. Well, it did, but the GM has to decide that hey, this guy is going to run away and preserve himself.
Exactly.
Well, it's not written in anywhere for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things that I've always appreciated, and I work into my own games even if the rules aren't in there, because there's times where the combat's getting long in the tooth. And it's time to be done.
For sure, yes. Next up, we have our level up.
Yeah.
Level up happens whenever the GM feels like it.
Love it. It's my favorite rule on the planet.
They say, hey, you guys, you walked from the dock to your ship. You leveled up. Why not?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the fact that they lean into the GM having the ability to do the level up. I know that exists in most games, but in this game, it is like, no, we don't do experience here. We do the way that the DM wants it to be. So they want you to level up and away you go. That allows you to always make sure that you've got the game balanced out. The players are not out leveling the monsters or vice versa. It is constantly balanced based on the way you want to play the game.
Yeah, and that's the gripe I've always had with experience-based combats or anything level up, is because the players will, scour every inch of everything just to get those extra experience points and hopefully level up before they get to the next big bad guy.
Yep. And
now you're scrounging to make sure that, hey, these guys are not going to stomp your big bad that you got planned coming up. And that's why I prefer to do the milestone leveling myself.
Yeah.
At certain points in the story, hey, you leveled up. Hey, you leveled up. Hey,
it's just cleaner.
Done.
It's the way to go. It eliminates how much XP do we have again? Oh, we need 150. Let's go and find something to kill. Yeah. Right? Like, no, we're not going to do it that way.
And you don't have to futz with XP.
That's right. Less tracking is best tracking.
You got it in your notes that, hey, once they hit here, they level up into level whatever it is. Perfect. Yeah. Done. Next. Yeah. We're not always, every encounter, make sure they didn't get too much XP or make sure they got enough XP because the next fight's going to be harder. Well,
exactly.
Who cares in this?
It's brilliant. I wish it was a mainstay in all RPGs. The morale system is fantastic.
With our level up, sorry, to get back at it.
We got off track. There was a little bit. That's okay though.
Tangent.
We love morale in this podcast. That's all we're saying.
When level up happen, you can increase one core stat and gain HP and one of 6 class features. Now, some stack and some don't stack with your class, but it all depends on
everything's dependent on the class you choose, and the rule sets are all within those classes. So the class pages are like some of them are literally one page. They're tiny.
Class pages are small.
There's not a lot there. So I mean, you would just consult that and go off of that. But it's the same concept as it was with Borg. You level up and then you roll to determine whether or not you gain your boosts to those skills as well. Yeah. Those stats.
Okay. Next up we have DG's favorite.
I love this.
On page 68 and 69, we outline some shanties, some sea shanties. Now, this is literally your crew singing sea shanties on your boat.
That's right. It's such a nice add to the game. They basically have put in the ability for your crew to sing sea shanties while you're cruising through the ocean, and you're able to actually sing a number of these equal to 1 plus your captain's spirit. And if you're successful, they do stuff, right? So they give you 12 different sea shanties. Again, we're back on a table again. But each one of these, all they give you is the title and what it does. It is up to the crew to come up with a song, which is so cool. It's just that level of RP that this would add into the game, and just get you into the zone, like that immersion kind of thing. This is what I'm looking for out of these games, right? You've got 15 men on a dead man's chest. All for me grog, blow the man down among the dead men. There's these different songs that you can sing, and these ones do, the ship gains D2 devil's luck that it can use like a PC. They're all ship based because that's what's happening is the crew singing a song to get this ship going, right?
Because you sing sea shanties on the ship.
But like there's a sea shanty called Fire Down Below. Extinguish all fires on the ship and repair D6 HP. So, okay, you just got attacked. You're now done your combat. Your ship's on fire. Sing this song. Make your check. Sing this song. Put out the fires and heal the ship because you're singing and putting fires out and repairing the ship as you're going. It's such a cool thing. I love it. This was a great ad.
And spoiler alert, there's naval battles.
That's right. In this pirate game, you actually have ship fights as pirates.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll get into that just
later.
right away here. But A very cool ad there as well. It's
Yeah,
such a cool thing.
I do like the sea shanties. It's a nice little touch.
Most of them are for the naval combat. And so just so you know, don't think that you're going to get like super powered as your pirate, but this is a way to work together with your crewmates together.
That's right. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we have an alchemy page.
This is cool.
The alchemy page is page 70 and 71 in the book. And this allows you to make a number of potions with a number of effects, number of different ways that it can affect and be ingested or, touched, or it's so cool.
So cool. It's just top tier, right? So this is another table. There's a lot of tables. So it's a D20 table and a D4 combined. So you would roll a D20 and a D4. What you're doing with alchemy is you're making potions, you're making things to inhale, you're making things that touch the skin, that enter the bloodstream. Essentially, these are your poisons, your potions, your bombs, your needles, like any of that kind of stuff. And there are good and bad effects here because you determine the ingredients, and then it has a resulting color. And from that resulting color and the delivery method, you then have a D20 list of what the effect is. And it's just so flippin' cool. It's just so awesome. Everything about it is really, really cool, right? And the effects go from instant horrific death, or after the subject is killed, they resurrect with 1 HP, to a random result from the mystical mishaps table. All tests are DR -4 for D8 hours. Like there's very clear benefits and drawbacks to these potions and things, right?
They're not just potions.
They're not just potions. No, your bombs, poisons, everything is listed in here. Gas, right? It costs a little bit of your silver to basically buy the potion if you can. But you can mix these ingredients together and make your own. And it's just really cool. I really love this. This is a great add again to the game.
The alchemy shtick in here, I'm probably going to be stealing it because
this is a cool one.
That's cool.
It's and I love the fact that you're rolling on a table for ingredients, the color, and the delivery method.
Yeah.
And then there's also like a DR. There's the better the potion, the harder it is to craft it, right? You're going to craft always. A lot of like poisons.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like, it's just really cool. Very, very cool. Love it.
Okay. Next up we have...
It's time to unveil it.
Naval combat.
Woo! We're going to sail the ships.
Yeah, we're going to sail the ships. We're going to fight off the ships. We're going to broadside a sloop from like 500 yards away. It's going to be so awesome. Yeah. And we're going to sing sea shanties the whole
way through. And it's really funny for something that is so crucial to the game. It takes up about 10 pages. And that's it.
The naval combat is so simplified, and yet it works so well.
It works very well.
It's insane how well the naval combat works in Pirate Borg, because it's not clunky like 5e's vehicle system.
That's right.
Right? It's very streamlined.
That's right.
You got like so many things that your ship can do. That's it.
And that's it.
And it's fairly intuitive. Like
it's smart. It's really, really well laid out, right? And like I remember when we were playing through the Avernus campaign and we were doing those war machines or whatever they're called,
right?
And how many times we had to open up the book, flip through the things, check out the vehicle rules, go, oh yeah, no, that's how it goes. Move for 30 seconds, be like, wait a second, now what? Oh, open the book, flip to the page, right? And like it was complicated because it's not designed to be used that way, right? Like it's in there, but the rule set for D&D isn't intended to be used that way.
No, I was going to say, how many vehicles are you driving in D&D?
Right, a horse.
A horse, and it's usually got
a carriage pulled by a horse.
Exactly. So naval combat is done on a hex grid.
Yeah,
this is one of the only things that is. I wouldn't say it's required, but it is suggested that you have a hex grid for.
I would say that even if the game's not saying it, I would say that it's required. You're going to need it because it's going to be tough to control otherwise.
It's going to be very tough to theater of mind this.
Yeah.
To a point. It either has to be all theater of mind and very liberal back and forth with the players and the GM.
It'd be pretty loosey-goosey.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, Borg and Pirate Borg have
they encourage
very loosey-goosey movement.
Well, I don't think I could do it with this one here.
Yeah, so like there's things like your ship can only do 2 rotations, like, and a rotation is one side of the hex, like one flat at a time.
Yeah.
You can only do, I believe, 2 of them per hex before you actually have to move out of your hex into the next hex.
Which makes sense.
Because I mean, your ship does not
there's no motor on this thing.
It doesn't just spin in a circle, right? It doesn't go end for end.
Exactly.
And you got broadside attacks, so that means you have to point your ship the right way, fire your cannons off the left side, and then, the port. And
port and starboard.
Yeah, and then swing it around so that you can shoot off the starboard side, right?
Yeah.
It's very cool. I really like how it's set up and how it works together with all the other rules of Pirate Borg.
Yeah, and for something that's completely added in, this has nothing to do with Borg. Now we're 100% in the world of Luke Stratton right here,
That's right.
It's laid out very well. You're going to have to look at this and review it, but this is not something where you're going to sit there constantly flipping pages. So once you get this down, you're done, right?
Yeah.
And away you go. And it plays such a heavy role that this is going to be something you're coming back to constantly. So, and again, 10 pages out of the 160 are dedicated to this, and it's such a crucial thing. Just to give you a concept of essentially, it is still, even though it's complicated, I'll put in quotations, it is very, very streamlined and punchy.
It's complicated for a board game. That's
correct.
All.
Yes,
yeah. And that's not complicated at all.
Not complicated. No, you'll be fine.
With ship combat, we have like 25 different ships that go along with all of this as well.
There's a lot of choices.
A raft, we got a dinghy, we got a sloop, we got a caravel, we got the battleships, we got like giant things, and these are all, everything's listed, how big the crew has to be to crew it, what the minimum crew they can have, what's the maximum crew that ship can handle, stuff like that, and its maneuverability and its weapons and all that stuff. And it's so cool, and the artwork for every ship is beautiful. It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I know we mentioned at the beginning, but like it really shines here, right? Like you've got a literal drawing of every single one of these ships, and it's just fantastic. Literally across the board, every single page that you turn to is its own little art gallery.
Yeah. After naval combat, we've got our monsters.
That's right.
And there are a wide variety.
There's a lot in this one.
There's a lot. I want to say there's probably 15 pages, 10 pages?
Quite a few. Yeah. I mean, by the time that you kind of get to the end of the road, you start on about page 86 and you go down to, if we start talking about like, there's the boss monsters and stuff like that too. But I mean, about page 97. So there's about 10 pages just in monsters, and maybe another 5 in the boss monsters. So
yeah. And so we're talking like everything from the zombie skeleton, rabid monkeys,
and
Davy
they're
Jones himself.
For sure. Davy Jones, as he's a turtle, just to let you know.
Turtle. He's a turtle. Terrifyingly large,
he's
spiky
a huge turtle.
But
he's a turtle. I don't know. Not my choice. I think I would have gone with something else, but I get it.
Maybe he's more of a King Koopa.
And maybe they wanted to go the Squid Man route, but because of the copyright reasons, they couldn't do that, so they went with turtle with spikes instead. I don't know. Yeah. But I mean, the monsters are split between terrestrial and aquatic, so you've got a good mix of land monsters and a good mix of water monsters, and then you've got a good mix of forest monsters, and then you've got all the undead. And in proper Borg fashion, there is a page on page 91 to create your own.
That's right. Yeah. Always got to be able to make your own.
Create your own monsters, which is a really cool table too. I like that.
Speaking of tables. The only game that has more tables than Borg or Pirate Borg is traveler.
Traveler.
There's a lot of tables, like
Yeah.
a lot of tables in this, and it makes this game feel small because of how many there are, and that just makes the variety and the flexibleness of this game really shine.
For sure. Yeah, and I think that the tables is what allows the game to be so punchy, right? Like the ability to kind of pivot in an immediate shot. The other thing is the players do something that you're not expecting. You don't have a creature ready to go. You flip to page 91, work through 1 through 5, roll some dice, and you have a new monster. Boom, done. Off you go.
Yeah, so we're talking like 5 dice rolls.
That's right. Poof.
5.
The only thing you got to do is name it.
Probably D6 rolls, I bet.
It's a bit of a mixed bag.
Okay.
So you got a D10, 2 D6, a D4, a D12, and then a D10 again. But still.
That's bam, 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 bam.
For what it's worth, there are online generators where you click one button and boom, here's a monster.
Because it's all table-based. It's very, very easy.
Like this is where this game shines. Borg was the exact same way.
It was,
the ability to just click a button, boom, done.
And that's the end of the actual rules is the tables.
That's right.
The
many tables. There's so many tables, dude. And I know we kind of keep saying that, but I mean, like, no joke. You've got the create your own enemies. You've got the cannons. You got the ships. You got the cargo. You got the treasure maps. You got the treasures. You got the riddles. You've got the places. You've got all of these different things. Yes. You want to make a game completely by random? There's a generator for that.
Yeah. So you find, you roll. There's a seagull.
Yeah. Oh,
you shoot
yes.
The seagull down.
Seagull. I love the seagull.
Yeah. You shoot the seagull down. Do you check the seagull? Yeah.
Yep.
Inside its belly, you find, let me roll my dice, a map. Oh, okay. What's on the map? Let me roll and see what that map is. It's a treasure map. Okay. Where's that treasure map point to? Let me roll for that. Oh, it points to this island here. And hey, let's go to that island. Okay. What's in the treasure chest? Let me roll for that.
Right.
Oh,
and just like that, like your campaign starts unfolding right before your eyes because of a flippin' seagull. You know what I mean? Like, it is very cool. If you want to see that seagull, by the way, he's on page 98. And the art for the seagull, he's really cool. He's literally got a nail in his beak and he's holding a fork with one
love that seagull.
Claw. I mean, there's a lot in this, right? Just like it was with Borg. This game for a GM, this is a prize because this is where you're going to get all of your meat out of the game. The game doesn't really tell you what to do. It simply just opens the door and lets you use your imagination to create whatever it is that you want.
Borg games, as far as I know, that board games are basically sandboxes.
Yep.
And they give you all the tools and the toys, and you just roll with whatever comes out because it is so easy just to set up, play, and go.
100%.
At the end of this book, there is, of course, in true Borg fashion,
the freebie.
A free adventure, The Curse of Skeleton Point. Now, this adventure is, again, provided at the very end of the book.
Yeah, it starts on page 128, but it really starts on page 130.
Yeah. And then, so that's just about 40 pages?
Just about.
Yeah,
just about.
Yeah. That's a decent sized little adventure.
It really is. And the way that it's laid out, I just it's beautiful because it basically lets you know, like, if you're starting your campaign, this is what you do. If you just wanted to do this as a one shot, this is what you do. Right. Like, and it literally hammers that point home and helps guide you by the hand. Where do I got to go? How do I get this going so that my players have the most possible fun they can?
And that's about it.
That's about it. You go and get your book and get a copy of this.
I will say that the Curse of Skeleton Point is a great starting adventure to just sandbox out of afterwards. It is so cool. You don't even have to follow the adventure. It's a starting point, right? It's the start of the adventure, and you can just chop the last 30 pages out of it and just go with the rest of it. It's so
And it literally says that in the introductory paragraph of the thing. It says, new GMs might feel a little lost. There's a lot to do, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry. Use this module as needed, or throw it to Davy Jones' locker when your pirates inevitably set the entire island on fire. But here are some ways to get started, right? Like it's basically saying like, here's your campaign primer. Here's how we'll teach you about the setting. Here's all this stuff. We'll introduce you some NPCs. We'll give your players a starting point, and then we'll teach you how to do what you need to do so you can get up and get going real quick.
Here's how we feel the game should be played.
Right. Yeah.
And it's our little gift to you.
Very, very good.
Thanks for buying the game. Have fun with it. Please just go be a pirate.
Go nuts.
Yeah. And that's it for the rule set.
That's right. Yep. Pretty simple. So, Finney, what do you think? At the end of the day, where's Pirate Borg in your neck of the woods?
Pirate Borg is right up there with Merc Borg and Traveler for my favorites.
It's good. It's really
good. Love this game. I love these. I love Borg games to begin with, and this one just hits a real
no
good spot.
No exception, right? Like it's the same kind of concept.
The book is exactly what I expected of a Borg book. It feels very Borg, like the way the layout is, the font changes, how everything kind of fits together, the art in it. It was just it was perfect.
Absolutely.
The adventure, again, I will say it one more time. It is a great adventure as a sandbox right afterwards. It is so perfect. It's so well made that you can just get it, stand it up, play it for a little bit, and then pivot and go wherever your pirate crew decides after that.
And it's free. Like a lot of games would charge you for like a starter set, right? Like this one's like, no, here's your starter set. We just included it in the book for you.
You're paying $60 for a starter set that comes with starter rule set, not even the full rules.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. And then, or you could pick up a board game that it's like a $42 book.
Yeah. It's really not that bad.
Yeah. It's so cool. How about you?
I 100% agree across the board, right? Like, I mean, these books are beautiful. I've said it a couple times, but these are like the ones I would put this on my coffee table and let people take a look at it because that's the way I look at it, right? I will say though, as beautiful as the Borg books are to look at, they are not always easy to read. This one wasn't as bad, but I mean, like, it's very artistic. So there's times where you're flipping the book sideways to read something along the side, but the font is like that old English font, so it's not exactly the easiest to read.
It's a lot of calligraphy and stuff.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Hard to read. Yeah.
You're gonna flip through it a couple times, but to be perfectly frank with you, the art style makes up for that, and it's not like it's unreadable or anything like that. It's just, if you don't know what you're getting yourself into, when you flip through, you're like, wait a second, what does this say? Can't read this. Why is this flipping through? Lots of different fonts, lots of different changes. Beautiful book. I mean, depending on how your players are, they may have a hard time with the Borg rules because your players basically live within a gumball machine, right?
Yeah.
Your players' characters are going to die and die and die and die, and you're going to see them rip up their character sheets and start a new one. And it's always a good thing. We said this in Merc Borg. It's a good idea to show up with a few sheets in hand because you're going to go through them, right? Making that clear in your session 0 is top priority. If they've never played a board game before, they need to be crystal clear that you're just a regular run-of-the-mill everyday dude. You're a pirate dude at this point.
You're
but
regular
you're
dude.
not special.
No, you are not the hero.
If you get shot in the chest with a blunderbuss, you're probably not going to survive.
That's right. Now, that being said, the characters are extremely easy to roll up.
That's right.
5 minutes, you're back in the game.
And again, like we said earlier, like a character generator exists. You click a button, you get a character. It's that simple, right? You can roll it yourself. And personally, I think that's what I would do. I like rolling dice. So that's probably what I would do. But I mean, it is so simple that you essentially go push, collect a character sheet, off and running again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The game's fun, it's punchy, it's easy to get up and running, and the ability to roleplay as pirates, I think, like, this one's got enough personality literally just to stand on its own. If you didn't know what Borg was, you would think that this was the original Borg game.
Yeah, you
right?
wouldn't be able to tell which was which.
No.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you didn't know Borg existed first, you would have no clue because of the way that this one's so well laid out. It is 100% able to stand all on its own, I think.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think as the last kind of point, with the rules light format, it does play itself to a double-edged sword, right? A strong GM, you're going to have no problems with this game. You're going to customize it to your liking. It's going to be great. But if you're somebody who's maybe a new GM or you're not really great at filling in the blanks, like really, really quick, you might end up doing extra prep than what you would be expected to do, kind of thing. Or being like, hang on a second, opening the book, flipping to a page, rolling a dice. So that kind of stuff would interrupt the flow of the game. So I would recommend that if you're going to run this game, make yourself very familiar with the book, understand the rules. Things are going to come up that you're not going to expect, but have the basics down before getting started. That would definitely be my number one recommendation.
Yeah, I would agree. It's it definitely takes some GMing, strong arming to get not even strong arming. It's experience, right? To be able to think of things on the fly that come up that you haven't scripted for.
Exactly.
And that is one of the drawbacks of rules light stuff. Yeah.
For sure. And I mean, it comes with time. The more of these you do, the easier that gets. Don't worry about that. Don't let that be a deterrent to not playing this game. No. It is not. This would not be hard to run. If you can run D&D, this one you could lap. You do circles around this one. Very, very easy.
And I dare say it might be more fun. Oh, what?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I agree. I think that if you're looking for something that is quick, punchy, you want to throw a book on the table and be like, hey, we're gonna take an hour, we'll read this book together, we'll create some characters, and we'll play a game for the next 2 hours. This one would be fantastic. I think this is a top tier, and I agree with you. I would put this up in the same echelon as Borg Traveler and the like.
Yeah.
For fun games.
Yeah. I think that's about it.
That's it for Pirate Borg.
Pirate Borg, yeah.
Do you know what that means? It's time for the post-pod.
The post-pod.
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 Da, 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 da. We will come up with a jingle. I'll get it. I will get it one of these times, I promise.
Yeah. So on today's post-pod, we are asking the monster that you put into every campaign you create. What is the one monster that you always have to shoehorn into every campaign because you love it so much?
I thought this was going to be a harder question than it actually is, but as soon as I saw that, I was like, gelatinous cube.
Oh, really?
It's the gelatinous cube. I have to have a gelatinous cube in every single game that I run. And the reason for is because, one, it's just such an epic, classic Dungeons and Dragons monster. It's a ridiculous Dungeons and Dragons monster because it's literally just a square blob. It doesn't make sense, by the way, that it's a square blob and not a rounded blob. I love the fact that it's just such a niche thing, right? But my very first character that I ever ran in any RPG game that I ever played went headfirst into a gelatinous cube and melted. And and since then, it has been a necessity for me to have a gelatinous cube in every single game. It's just such a cool thing. And it's created a scenario where even in the games where I'm not running, we've learned to be like, how dirty is the floor in this room? And if they say it's immaculate, we're like, okay, we're going to look for gelatinous cubes in this space because it's just it's such an epic monster, and I love it. And I love the fact that it's got a low challenge rating as well. That it fits, and it literally fits into any campaign. There isn't a single campaign that you can't fit a gelatinous cube into.
Yeah, I was surprised when I looked up the challenge rating of a gelatinous cube. It's really low.
It's really low.
It is super deadly.
Yeah, because I mean, they're not super dangerous to like high level adventurers, but as a level 1, man, you're toast. If that thing engulfs you, you're in bad shape.
Yeah. And I will say they had to make it sharp-sided because otherwise it wouldn't be a cube.
That's, I mean, I 100%. It's just,
Otherwise,
it's
it'd
just,
be a gelatinous blob.
It's just really funny to think about a literal
is.
cube
Of
rolling
Jell-O.
down the freaking corridor.
A 10-foot by 10-foot cube just rolling, sliding. It doesn't even roll. It just
That's
slides.
what I'm saying. It's so ridiculous that I love it. Finny, what about you? What's a monster that you have to put in every single campaign that you create?
I have to say, a mimic. I'm a sucker for mimics. I love mimics.
That was gonna be my runner-up. Was the mimic? I agree. I love the mimic.
Mimics are so cool. You can hide them anywhere.
Yep.
And just jack in the box them out onto
Yep.
your players out of nowhere.
And
it's
put the fear of God in them to
Yeah.
explore anywhere. So I mean, it is a common thread between our monsters in that they can literally fit into any single campaign. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what campaign you're playing. The
it
mimic
doesn't.
fits in all of them.
It does. Yeah, exactly. And it's just so cool that you can be like, the chest is unlocked. It's just sitting there. And the party rogue goes, "Oh, I like things."
Guaranteed.
Goes and puts their hand on the lid to open it. Opens the lid, and their hand doesn't come away.
And now they see
And
sharp
now-
teeth and a tongue.
And now you're sitting across the table from your player, watching his eyes grow like as big as saucers. You're saying your hand doesn't come away from the lid. Well, why not? There's a purple tongue that slithers out and pulls you in.
Wraps itself around you. I mean, it's such a work of art to
It
put
is.
a treasure chest in a room, because I tell you, it is impossible for any of those party members to just leave it alone. They're not going to
Yeah.
go buy it. They're going to be like, there's something wrong with that chest. So let's look for traps, right? Like
Yeah,
they
exactly.
never suspect it to be a mimic.
No.
It's the perfect monster. My absolute favorite mimic, and I had someone had sent me a picture of like the miniature of it. Is an outhouse mimic, and I was like, bravo mimic, that is a brilliant way to do it. Get them when they're the most vulnerable.
When they're pants down and everything.
Open the door, sit down, and never be seen of again.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, they're such a cool creature and so versatile.
Absolutely.
That's what I love about them.
Yeah. I had worked those into my campaign. We had a room and there was multiple mimics. And so there was it kind of got to a point where you guys were eventually like, don't touch anything. But I think I had put one as a treasure chest, and the rogue he just couldn't help himself. He was like, I got to see what's in the chest though. And you guys are like, no, it's a mimic. He's like, but it might not be. And he opens it and it was a mimic. And they're like, we told you, don't do that. And it's great. I love mimics are great.
Yeah.
Mimic and a gelatinous cube. Now that is a starting kit for a monster.
That is
for
a wonderful
first level encounters.
First level dungeon right there. Yeah.
That's going to do it for the show. Episode 12, Pirate Borg. Thank you so much for listening. Go and get yourself a copy of the game. It is fantastic. If you want to help support the podcast, you can do so in a number of ways. First and foremost, the absolute most easiest way is simply just to share the podcast with friends, family, or other folks and help us get the word out there that the show exists. You can also do us a favor if you want to by rating and commenting on the episodes. We do post the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. And of course, we also have multiple ways to get in touch with us.
Yeah. Mainly our email is mastersofpenandpaper@gmail.com. Please send us any comments, questions, concerns, pictures of your dice tower.
We want to see your dice.
Send us like stuff for our behind the screens, some things that happen or just tell us about your game. We love to hear about other
give us some
games
stories
and stuff. Yeah.
Tell us game systems that you play.
Other
and that
systems
you've
is a
heard
great
of.
one. Yes.
Maybe even game systems you want to hear us do an episode on. We'd be more than happy to do that.
I am more than happy to buy more systems.
We always love growing the collection.
Yeah. Other than that, the Discord, there's going to be a link in the description below. And there in the Discord, our Discord is full of awesome community members. And we have a TTRPG/D&D channel that is starting to get some traction going. We talk about, character prep, character creation. Somebody was asking the other day about some inspiration for a character, and we popped in and we're like, hey, this how about
story ideas,
but item creation, we do stuff like that.
It's really, really great to kind of help to kind of almost community create stuff together. Right. It's like, I have this idea, how can we make this work? And then you got 6 people saying like, well, I could do this, and this is what I think you could do, and
and by the time you sift through all the crap, you find something in there.
It's great. Everything's great. It's fantastic. You can also check us out. We do stream a weekly game of Dungeons and Dragons every single Sunday night at 9 p.m. And you can find that at twitch.tv/DGOnline or at youtube.com/@DadGamingOnline. The same place you can find the podcast posted on YouTube as well, in that same address. And of course, let us know that you're out there. And that's it. That's all from us. I think we're going to wrap this one up. And
have a great time. See you guys. Thank you for downloading or listening. And we will catch you on the next one.
We'll catch you on episode 13. Take care. Next time.